Now that you've created an action set, I'm going to show you how to initiate a new action inside of Illustrator. I'm still working inside musicalreview.ai, found inside the 30 Actions folder. What I'd like you to do, assuming you're working along with me, is make sure your Actions panel is open and go ahead and click on that action set that you just got done creating in a previous exercise. So again, don't click on default actions. That horse is so dead, but I really don't want you to do that. So click on your new action, and then you don't click on a record button. Notice that it tells you you can begin recording, but you get the Ghostbusters cursor telling you that you can't. And the Ghostbusters cursor happens to be accurate in this case. The record button is designed to continue actions that you've already started. In order to initiate a new action, you have to click on this little page icon. So go ahead and click on the page, and then up will come the new action dialog box. And in this case, we're going to create an action called Save for Web, and it's going to be PNG8/64 is what I'm thinking here. And let me explain what in the world that means. We're going to be choosing the Save for Web command, and we're going to be saving out this graphic and many others in the future thanks to our action here as a PNG file, an 8-bit PNG file, by the way. That's what the 8 means. And we're going to take things down to 64 colors. Now, Illustrator already ships with a few Save for Web actions that are available to you in the default actions folder. There's a Save for Web GIF and there's a Save for Web Ping 24, but there's none for Ping 8. And by the way, I should say, since I was just slamming those actions in a previous exercise, those are the good ones. Those Save for Web actions are pretty good. All right, so anyway, go ahead and name your action like so. And then notice you have the option of switching sets. So if you had, contrary to my very specific instructions, selected default actions, now you could change to your new action set instead. And then you can assign a function key as a keyboard shortcut. This is pretty frustrating to me that you can't assign just a standard everyday average keyboard shortcut the way you can using the keyboard shortcuts command. I don't understand the limitation here, but you can only use a function key, and you got to bear in mind that a lot of those function key combinations are already taken up bringing up the various panels. And so you want to be watchful of that. But for example, I could say F5 is going to be my core function key, and I could go ahead and add Shift to it as well if I want to. And I can choose to add Control here on the PC or Command on the Mac. Now, you will find that sometimes, mysteriously, one of these checkboxes is not available. Notice here on the PC, I do not have the option of choosing the F1 key. You can on the Mac, but not on the PC. If I choose F4, then notice that both the keys got turned off here, and I just can't turn on Control. And even though I'm clicking on a Control checkbox, I'm actually changing the Shift checkbox because Illustrator's kind of saying, you know what, you can't do Control, but I'll help you out, buddy. How about Shift? That'll be your consolation prize. I don't want that. But anyway, that's just going to happen here on the PC. On the Mac, you're going to see different mysterious keyboard combinations not work for you. What I typically do is I don't do keyboard shortcuts for actions because they're too much of a pain in the neck. But if you want to, you can. So go ahead and give that a try. Notice Alt, also mysteriously missing option on the Mac. That's just right out where actions are concerned. And that Control key on the Mac, you can't assign either. Just all these entertaining limitations. Anyway, note that you can assign a color. And you might think, well, why would you assign a color to an action? That doesn't even really implicitly make sense. Well, the Actions panel comes with a button mode, and this color will be assigned to that button if you so desire. So I'm just going to take advantage of everything that's available to me here, and then I'll click on the record button. And notice you now have an action. It's twirled open, so it will sit there and show you the operations as they compile. Also notice that you've got this little red record button that's showing up down here in the bottom left corner of the panel. And it's kind of analogous to that red light that appears on a camcorder that shows the person that you're recording them. You want to keep an eye on this guy, by the way. You're aware that you are in the process of recording because it's very easy, by the way. This sounds idiotic, but as you're recording an action, it's very easy to just sit there and sort of do the task you wanted to record and then kind of forget you're recording an action and then just go about your work. And then later on, you'll see this list of a few hundred operations that have just compiled. And I say this based on copious experience. I do that all the time. But anyway, so you just want to make sure that when you're done recording the action, that you go ahead and click the stop button in order to stop. Notice that I've just spent an inordinate amount of time explaining how this action works here, and nothing is happening. Illustrator is just patiently waiting for me to do something significant. So I could zoom out, for example, and then zoom back in. That's not tracked because Illustrator doesn't consider navigation worth paying attention to, which is probably a good thing. There's other things that Illustrator doesn't pay attention to that I'd like it to pay attention to, and we have to make it pay attention to, and I'll show you that in the future. But my whole point here is you're in no hurry. Illustrator is not recording the time that goes by. It'll play this action back rapid fire, faster than you could ever perform the operation, regardless of how long it takes you to record it. Which is why we're going to save the actual recording of this action for the next exercise.